Gerard också. Acti.
Okay, we are recording.
We'll just wait for a couple more people to arrive and then we get started. We're also waiting for Tony to get here. Connor, did we get the tweet out?
Yep, it's gone out.
Cool. I've gotten quite used to Twitter Spaces without the camera on. It's completely different having the cameras on and having an AMA.
It's uncomfortably high resolution.
That's the good internet speeds over there in Australia, is it?
We're known for being good in some things, but internet is definitely not one of them.
Oh, really? I would have thought the opposite. Okay, people are starting to arrive. We'll just give it a couple of minutes. Thanks for everyone who's on time. There'll be a few late arrivals, so I think we'll just aim to start in like 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, there's quite a few people here now. Just waiting for Tony to jump in. For those of you who are here, we can share some inside Commonwealth private joke. Tony is literally always 3 minutes late, at least for every meeting. It's coffee and cigarette syndrome. So he'll probably come in and say, "I'm sorry, I'm late. I was just having a coffee and a cigarette." But generally now, everybody just arrives to meetings 3 minutes late anyway because they know that it's Tony time.
Tony time. Serena, thanks for inviting everyone in. I see the chat going crazy with all your invites.
How do you do invites? Oh, do you just like go through the list and invite people?
Yeah, I think you can just add people who are in the chat, invite them to join.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks, Serena.
Tony's just joined as well.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, lovely.
He was actually 4 minutes after the hour this time. So he's officially late, even for Tony time.
Must have had a bigger coffee today.
Exactly. He's not live with his camera though, so I guess he's getting. Tony, could you unmute yourself with the camera and the audio?
Oh, haven't tried much of the functionality here. Can you actually put your hand up?
We can test that with the audio, or with the audience. I mean, so if we, there's Tony. Tony, do you want to try with your video as well?
Yep. Let me just try it now. How's it working?
There we are. Yeah, you're in. Good stuff.
I
think it's because you're not an admin in the group, so you can't automatically turn your video or your microphone on. So for those of you in the audience who want to intervene at any point, I think you can just raise your hand or ask to speak, I think is the function on Telegram chat, or Telegram video. You're welcome to do that later on. So we're going to go through a few updates with you guys, and then towards the end, we're going to open it up for literally the AMA part of the AMA, where you can chime in with your questions and comments. Should we get started? Do you guys think it's a good time?
Yeah, but I think give people an outline of what we're going to do, maybe, and kill a minute or two and see if we get a few more stragglers. What do you guys think?
Yep, no problem. So you'll notice we're doing the AMA on Telegram now, not Twitter. And the reason for that is we're going to have a dev update today, which involves a screen share, and Tony's going to take you through something which hopefully you find very interesting. So that's why we're over on Telegram. Probably those of you who have been wondering about that have maybe figured out why. So let's see how that goes today. As you're aware, we haven't had an AMA for a few weeks. We've been continuing with All Street Beats, where we're diving into topics which are, super relevant for anybody who's curious about retail investing, especially with regards to early stage investments, VC style investments, which some people wouldn't have much exposure or experience in. So the aim of the All Street Beat has been to lay the foundations for anybody to come in and have an informed kind of perspective on how it is to be involved in retail investing in early stage Web3 projects, which is normally what venture capitalists and angel investors do. We're obviously trying to open that up to the masses, to the 99%. So, and that is exactly what Commonwealth is all about. We are all about All Street. I think everybody who's on this call probably knows that already. It's about the 99%, not the 1%. We've been busy, guys. I can't really stress that enough. Between the core team and the core contributors around the team, and the dev team as well, there's been so much going on the last few weeks, and it really is time to give you guys a solid update on progress with how the build is going. Some of the features have been kind of tweaked and evolved, and continue to be tweaked and evolved, which is as per the light paper. Any of you who've read the light paper will know that everything that we've put down so far is a work in progress and continues to be iterated as the development and the design and development process sort of matures itself closer to product launch, and of course after product launch, because this isn't a one-shot endeavor. Once we launch the product to the open market, that's really the first time we will get broad product market feedback and kind of tweak and innovate and evolve the product market fit of Commonwealth so that it's optimized for retail use. The product side is Tony's going to walk us through that, and then of course on the business development side and the marketing side there is a lot going on. Unsurprisingly, we have an announcement about the layer 2 solution that has sort of won our hearts and our minds, and will be the layer 2 solution for Commonwealth. We will make an announcement about that today as well. There is already a really strong influencer network that is associated with Commonwealth. As you'd expect, being All Street needs people, and people are in Web3 defined by communities and influencers. And we have what we think associated with Commonwealth are the influencers that stand for the same value proposition that Commonwealth stands for, the same principles, the same ideology, and essentially the people who we think are optimal for carrying the messaging and carrying the representing All Street essentially. And as you know, Miles Deutscher is one of our advisors. Altcoin Buzz is a long established name in Web3 as one of our advisors. We have also other influencers in our network, and we are growing the network already. We've signed a couple more this last couple of weeks. We won't do the announcements on that today, but just to tell you that the influencer network is growing quite strongly. AB de Villiers, who's a cricket legend, sporting legend with a huge social media following, and a large part of that social media following in developing countries. He is an ambassador for Commonwealth. He is somebody who enjoys Web3, has taken to Web3 like a duck to water, and by that I mean has also experienced the downside of Web3 by being phished and hacked for all of his NFT portfolio, not once but twice. So you can say it's, you know, a noob kind of a new mistake that he did, which was clicking on links that weren't verified. But it is unfortunately the reality of Web3. But it's made him sort of even more interested in being involved with ventures which he thinks are putting forward a safe pair of hands and are trustworthy in terms of what they're building and how they're building it. And if people want to get involved in crypto and Web3, people that he wants to introduce to Web3, he wants them to do so through a team and a technology stack that he can stand behind. So he's involved as well. And there's more announcements to come on that front. And of course, Kyle Chassé is a co-founder of Commonwealth. He is from Master Ventures, which is an established venture capitalist arm and also incubator in Web3. And Kyle brings with him obviously a huge amount of influence and network and experience. So we feel we're on a very, very solid foundation. We are also doing a lot more business development in terms of partnerships, and we can make those announcements in due course. Yeah, but I suppose the emphasis of today is really about the dev and also the layer 2. So I'm going to invite Tony in to have to give you guys an update, and then once we've exhausted that update, which there's quite a few points to get through. Hopefully they're exciting and interesting for you guys. We will move to the AMA section where, you know, you guys can come on with your cameras or without your cameras, whatever you feel comfortable with, and just ask any questions that you have to the team. This is obviously not the full team, but this is the team that works on a daily basis on managing the dev side and also the business development side and the marketing side. So anything in that arena, I think we can field quite comfortably. If there's something we can't field, obviously we will get the information and relay it back to you guys. Was there anything I missed in the orientation, Tony, or do you want to just jump in with the dev side?
No, I think you've got most of it. I mean, there's one or two announcements about future events as well. I might touch upon them now because they're kind of related, and we can unpack them later on. No, thanks for that, Tim. I was listening to Tim talk about how busy we are over the last few weeks, and I'm kind of going, that's such an understatement. It really is, in the amount of things that are going on in the background. And there's a lot of things bubbling up now which are coming to fruition that we're getting very excited to be able to start sharing with you over the next kind of couple of weeks and months. So today is kind of a big milestone in many ways. I'm going to do a fairly short development update, actually, because we're actually going to show you guys the working build of the Invest workflow today. It's running on testnet. We've been kind of demoing it to kind of focus in the background here for the last week or two, and are very happy with where it's at. It's only, the best way I can put it is, it's probably only about 30% of what we've actually built that you're going to see today, but it's the most important part. And over the next kind of weeks and months, you're going to see a lot more of it. So we do a live demo for you today, which will be our first, and hopefully you'll enjoy that and you can start to give us your impressions. Following on from that, we've got two other kind of related events, I guess, over the coming weeks. In 1 month's time, we want to do the closed beta and let you guys get your hands on it. It will be what you're going to see today, plus a lot more. Not all of which will probably end up making it in for a launch. So it'll be a great opportunity for you guys to kind of see kind of where we spent our time and energy and how we fix some of the problems that we've been alluding to over the course of the month. So we'll give you dates for that at the end of today. And the week prior to that, so roughly 3 weeks from today, we were planning on doing a closed AMA with you guys. In preparation for the closed beta, potentially bringing in some of the rest of the dev team, maybe even a few more folks from the leadership team into the AMA, and give you guys a chance to meet some of the wider group of the people who are working so hard on our behalf in the background. But one issue we've come across when we were testing the token gating today, and this is a question I guess we put to you guys. We promised you for a while now that we do a token gated AMA. However, without the TGE being done, we only have the Series 1 and Series 2 NFTs, the token gate. And the vast majority of you have staked them, as have we. So to operate the token gating, we'd have to unstake our NFTs, participate in the Collabland powered AMA, and then restake afterwards. So not only would we lose a small portion of what we're staking, we'd have to pay gas fees for staking and unstaking on Ethereum. So I guess our question for you guys is, are we happy? We really want a token gated AMA. We're going to have to put some thought and energy into it. And my question for you guys, is that worth it? As opposed to having it in a kind of more semi-private or even public kind of forum. So we'll, voice your opinions today by all means, and we'll set up a poll in the channel and you can let us know. I'm reluctant to kind of take too much of the team's time away and focus away in order to do this. But it is, the fact that we promised you a closed AMA, I think it's important you guys get to make the decision how we do it. So hopefully you'll find the idea of kind of doing the closed beta kind of exciting to get your hands on this and kind of, test it to destruction. It'll give you a good idea of kind of some of the features that will be there for launch. As I mentioned, we need to give you a briefing before then about what may or may not be there for launch. But we're very excited at this point to be able to start showing off what we've been working on for so long and so hard. And I know quite often myself and Ian look at each other every now and then and go, it's been a slog to get here, but what a relief that we're now here and we're at this point. We're ready to start revealing this. I know in the early days, myself and Ian spent long, dark nights of the soul untangling those documents and trying to figure out how the hell we're going to build this thing. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts at this moment?
No, this is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the feedback for sure. We did have some dark times and a lot of, what shall we say, what's the word? Not heated conversation, but
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, we've come a long way, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's a great moment, and it just feels more and more substantial to us every day, as you can imagine. So it'd be great to get your feedback. So token gated AMA, give your thoughts on that. The closed beta, I think it's the first week in August. It will be open for 5 or 7 days, probably 7 days. We're planning it at the moment, so any of those who want to participate, there'd be a survey to do before and after you've done the test, and then there'll be a feedback form to give feedback and report issues during the test. I do hope many of you will partake in it and really give us some good feedback on it, right? So do your best. And then lastly, I guess before I go in, should I do the Layer 2 announcement first, Tim, or do the demo first? What do you think?
I'd give the guys the Layer 2 announcement, I think, and push the demo a little bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because this is a big one for us, actually. So it's no secret that we've been looking at alternatives to Ethereum for a long time. We won't claim to have all of our issues figured out yet, but we're making enough progress that we're happy to make some commitments. So finally, we're going to move to ZK Sync for the platform launch. The Gen NF2s will stay in Ethereum, of course. We're actually working on a solution now so they'll operate with the platform and provide all the utility that's needed. We're doing this for a number of reasons. ZK Sync has proven to be the cheapest of the L2 solutions. It's also, to my surprise, got the best adoption. By total value locked, it's the third behind Arbitrum and Optimism for sure. However, it's got the largest roll-up by TVL for ZK rollup by far. It's also got more than 1 million active wallets. It's got I think it's nearly 200,000 daily active users. So by volume, by just user activity alone, it's actually bigger than and more popular than the other two networks. I think it's got approximately 70 protocols in development on it at the moment. So we think the ZK Zinc narrative and their ecosystem really gels a lot with the kind of Commonwealth ideals and as we went through the journey of doing due diligence with them, with the business team, as well as the technical side of things, just more and more things kind of fell into place. It was just easy. So we're actually going to do a blog post over the weekend on why we think they were a good fit for us and kind of what was in our thinking in moving to ZK Sync. Secondarily, it's enabled us to do some features that we had designed and we're potentially going to be unable to build on Ethereum due to cost. We have basically had to work around using third-party providers and some custom code, some of the kind of shortfalls in the UX in Web3. We're actually able to take our plans significantly past what we've already built if we move to ZK Sync, including kind of several features that we thought were several years away. We can now actually bring forward and potentially have in a relatively short time frame. And all of these issues are just about quality of life improvements for users in terms of how they would operate with the platform. It also enables, in the future, again, a level of automation and integration that we would have had to manually build previously. And in addition, it's got greater privacy and significantly lower costs of operating for Ethereum than Ethereum does. Now, there are some drawbacks to it in the sense that we had to spend a bit of time not working on the platform and doing quite an extensive amount of research. While it was relatively quick to assess the other L2s, ZK Sync being quite a departure in kind of architectural terms, meant we needed to spend a lot more time doing a deeper dive. In fact, the team are only completing the analysis technically as we speak. I think they'll be finished in 1 hour's time. But we were actually ready to make a call on it nearly a week ago. We actually think that we're going to be able to keep relatively close to our best timelines and still have the platform working for a TGE in October, November as planned. We think, but don't quote us on this, we think there may be a delay between well, we always wanted to launch the platform kind of day and date with the TGE, or at least as close as possible. So that piece we're still assessing, because the one drawback, as I mentioned, to the ZK Sync ecosystem is its relative immaturity. So we actually have commitments from ZK Sync and some of their partners when they're coming on board, and right now there's enough of the required functionality there for us to be able to launch for TGE. But some of the systems or features that we had planned on, we're still looking for a little bit of clarity exactly around when they will be. So we're still not going to commit 100% to a launch date right now, but we're fairly confident to commit to keeping TGE a little bit later than planned, but still in Q4 this year.
Just wanted to add in there, Tony. I mean, it'll be nice to hear from the community what you think. I've seen a few comments coming into the chat already. Yeah, indeed, ZK Sync has been, heavily hyped, but it isn't strictly hype based in terms of what Commonwealth is associated as a good synergy and partnership with ZK Sync. Like Tony said, I think it speaks to what Commonwealth is trying to achieve on a technical level, but also on a first principles level. And again, we've been really encouraged by how it's been working with them, both on the business development side, but also on the technical side, very proactive and responsive in support of all the questions that have been coming from our team towards them in terms of the feasibility analysis of the move. So there's a lot of reasons and rationality which do support this decision. It'll be good to hear from the community, but it hasn't been taken lightly. What I would say is the discussions with Arbitrum hadn't been as, let's say, they were fine, but they just weren't as good a fit, we felt, all things considered, as ZK Sync, and those two were the main kind of front runners. Obviously, the big question mark, I guess, is with regards to the maturity of the ecosystem, and it is relatively still kind of in progress. We all know that, and I think they are also very transparent about where they are in terms of development, but they are delivering on what they're saying they're going to do in a way that we feel gives confidence to how they're going to be able to kind of meet the commitments on the roadmap. So It hasn't been a decision taken lightly, but there is still, of course, that slight unknown with regards to when the oracles will be there, when all of the liquidity providers will be active with liquidity on chain, and the rest of the infrastructure partners, on ramps, off ramps, everything that you need to run a consumer facing application on a layer 2. Those are still things in development, but there's nothing yet that it presents itself as a red flag, either on the technical side or on the business development side. And we feel really confident and happy with this decision. So really looking forward, I think, to how that evolves and keeping a good relationship with ZK Sync. So yeah, stay tuned for more kind of business development related announcements on the ZK Sync front.
Yeah, there's definitely a few exciting things bubbling away in the background there as well. So for sure. Yeah, I guess you guys probably have lots of thoughts and opinions, I guess, about ZK Sync and whatever else. So feel free to ask them in the AMA and in the channel, etc. I think for now, what I want to do is maybe we'll move on. I'll give the demo. And then when we start the AMA, I do want to come back and revisit a topic around regulation and compliance that we were asked a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to give you an update on kind of our thinking there and kind of what the actual progress. Again, there's been some exciting progress on that side as well. But for now, I think I'll just jump in and give you guys the demo, if that's okay. Yeah.
Drum roll, please.
Oh, don't build it up now in case I fall flat on my face.
I've seen you now give the demo like 4 or 5 times, Tony, so I'm confident in you.
Here, let me see. Okay, you can all see there?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sharing that full screen, but I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the MetaMask interaction, but let's see how it goes. Yeah, folks, so what you're seeing is on Ethereum testnet. It's the working build of the invest workflow that I'm going to take you through today. So it will show the workings of projects, it will show the working of funds, and it will show the investment process from beginning to end and when you receive the investment, the fund NFT. I'll give you a quick glimpse of portfolio, which is the portfolio piece is still being developed, but it's basically where you're getting a view of the personalized view, your view of Commonwealth, so to speak. We have several other pieces, of course, already built. The full authentication system is built. The auto creation of non-custodial wallets is built. Obviously, all the back-end pieces are built. We're going to lose another piece that we built and we're very proud of, which was the automation interface between Web 2 and Web 3. That won't be available, unfortunately, on ZK Sync. So that piece we're going to lose. But we also have some of the community pieces built, but they are not yet integrated. So you won't get to see these perhaps for another week or two. And then, of course, you'll get to experience all of this during the closed beta. The only pieces that will not be available during the closed beta will be the learn to earn section and rewards. They won't be there present. So for now, let me just take you through, kind of most of this, I guess you've kind of seen previously, right? You'll be able to see all the aspects of the different funds. You can see we're trying to show off the different kind of teams that people might want to invest into. You can imagine going into a bull run, there could be quite a lot of funds being spun up to take advantage of either different verticals or different opportunities. Within each fund, you can go in and find all of the context around the thesis for the fund, obviously the metadata around the fund, if it's capped, etc., and what the actual cap is. You'll be able to see live market data. We'll be integrating with Chainlink, I believe, by default, and that is due sometime in August, September on ZK Sync for putting in that information. We will then try, as we've always tried to do, really want to keep the community in the app and kind of focused on these kind of shared activities. So even within the funds and projects, we want to contextualize the information and interactions with the community and kind of make this stuff as trivial as possible to be either to add it to your calendar, to go and partake in the vote. If we knew you had wealth, for example, we could basically remind you needed a stake for governance because there was a vote coming up. So you can kind of see the benefits of having this tightly integrated system and how it will improve quality of life, really. Obviously, there's the detail on the fund distribution and on the individual projects then themselves. And again, at the project level, of course, you will be able to go in and see similar information to the fund, but obviously at a much deeper level. You're going to be able to go in and see the live tokenomics data from the marketplace. You'll be able to see all the collateral, the white paper, all the project details. But the piece we're only beginning to work on now, and this is just a teaser, is the due diligence section that we will have, which will be, it's quite a big process that we're trying to boil down. Like I think between the contributions from Ian and Tim and MetaVest and my own, and then some of the best of breed stuff that I've worked on previously, this is a distillation of something like 13 different due diligence frameworks that we're trying to boil down into something that's easily accessible, easy to use, but provides the kind of necessary value. And at the end of the day, we envisage there'll be 2 or 3 of these type scores at the end, like a risk analysis around various components for the project, which can be monitored then, of course, throughout the course of the investment, but potentially social sentiment and even analysis from a partner of ours who has a team of analysts who work in the background to analyze projects. We've actually gone through that process ourselves on Commonwealth, and I think we're expecting to publish that next week. I think, is that right, Tim? The Cyrator reviews. I know myself and Ian have a little bit of work to do in it, but we're publishing that live next week to the public. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no delay on that. Essentially, it can go in the next 5 minutes if we want. We just wanted to tidy up a few of the different components of the review that they're doing on us, but it's going really well so far. I think they're quite keen to do an AMA of their own with the analysts, where it's recorded and they sort of ping questions, hard questions at us, and then on the strength of that, then they adapt the scoring of the review. But yeah, it's essentially ready to go.
Yeah, so you can have a look at our score and listen to our AMA while they grill us quite soon. But our plan is to partner with them and have them do due diligence as part of each of our projects as well. So not only do we get, the council's view, our view, your view of the due diligence, we're also getting this independent third-party piece brought in. Ultimately, so we can put down some kind of investment readiness score, right? Something that's kind of digestible and useful for the community. But anyway, I digress because it's my current area of obsession. But let me bring it back up and actually talk you through the investment process then. So I've decided here I want to invest in this fund. So I don't have to create an account or log in. I'm going to log in because I've previously created an account. Just authenticate here. And then once I'm through, I can choose the only one that's an investable state actually is the Metaverse Fund in this case. So as you can see, it's contextualized slightly here and that I've invested previously. So instead of asking me to invest, it's asking me if I want to increase my stake. And again, that's the kind of gamified flywheel ultimately that we want to have through all of those core workflows, just to make the process of using Commonwealth kind of seamless for you, but also most useful at the time you need it. So in here, I'm just going to decide to invest. I can choose to pay with, I can choose with a credit card. I can pay with USDC. In this case, it's just stubbed out. We don't have a fiat on-ramp provider at the moment on this, so I'm going to invest in USDC. As some of you know, we also plan to expand the range of currencies you'll be able to invest into, but that's coming at a later date. For now, I'm just going to choose an investment amount. I'm going to click continue, in which case I get a confirmation of the fees. And here is just another one of those intricacies we need to kind of be careful to explain to folks about that. While we are taking a 10% management fee up front, your management fee is actually refunded before any carry fees are taken. Once the project has returned enough tokens to break even in the fund, you'll be repaid any management fees you've paid, and then and only then do we calculate carry and staking fees. And that's another massive difference between us and VC funds. A VC fund over the course of 12 to 15 years, 2% a year, you're going to lose 24 to 30% of your investment before the carry fee is applied. Here we refund your fees. So I think it's a big win for us and something we need to do a much better job of educating people about. But anyway, here I'm going to confirm my investment. On this screen, we'll undergo a little bit of a change, but this is just basically where we're minting our fund's NFT, which memorializes our stake into the fund. And generally speaking, this has been pretty quick. I think most of our operations have taken less than 3 minutes. So let's see how long this one takes. And of course, once you receive this NFT, you can immediately trade it or split it and retain part of it while selling part of it on either OpenSea or potentially even in our community itself.
Have you signed the transaction, Tony?
I have. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
So there we go. We've just completed our first fund NFT. We really need a better name than fund NFTs. This will be available in your portfolio, and of course, you can import it into your wallet. For now, I'm just going to go and verify this on Gwirly Etherscan, so you guys can see that the transaction actually took place on testnet. And there you go. Really simple. And what you may or may not have noticed is that if you remove wallet interactions from the equation, it's 4 clicks to do an investment, which I think is fairly phenomenal. And then your dashboard view, this is still work in progress, obviously. And obviously, most of us, if you don't have a Genesis NFT, you won't see that Genesis NFT dashboard component. That would only appear to you. Actually, I tell a lie. This is the view where you don't have any Genesis NFTs. If you had Genesis NFTs, you'd have an additional tab down here where rewards and tokens are, and that tab would have all the details of your rewards, your wealth allocation, any bonuses you're entitled to would all be visible there to you. But so again, when you guys are playing around with this during the beta, I kind of really want you to pay attention to the kind of information that's presented as well, and tell us if you find it useful. If there's other things we should be including but haven't, if the things we are including that you don't care about, I'd love to hear all that as well. I'm sorry, this is a little bit slow, obviously, because it's running on a staging environment. It's not on the public web.
Tony?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to also stress for everybody, we could have done this demo on mobile app as well. Obviously, it would be slightly tricky given the format that we're using here, the Telegram chat video, but essentially it's mobile first, as you know, and we're at the same level of development with regards to the mobile app.
Yeah, 100%, Tim. We built up mobile first, so this is working fully on mobile also as well. Yeah. Okay. So I think at that point, I have to figure out how I turn this thing off now. I turn off my screen share. Too many complications. But yeah, I'd love to hear what people have to say, what they think.
So just in case it wasn't clear, that's a working alpha. We've achieved alpha. I think that's a huge milestone, and often I think the risk is that we skip over milestones and just move on to the next kind of piece of work ahead of us. But when you're working in a startup and any kind of project like this, we really have to celebrate the milestones. So that's why we wanted to put it in front of you guys, and also it's why we're having this session recorded, and we'll make a short video and edit it nicely and be able to release that onto the social media and just sort of congratulate everybody involved with Commonwealth to have achieved this milestone, and also build up some hype and anticipation for the beta testing and the launch on ZK Sync. So we are moving quite quickly in the direction that we hoped. It has been, kind of a labor of love, and like Ian said, there's been, healthy friction in the different core contributors to Commonwealth in order to be able to get it to this stage. And we, as you've also noticed, we are starting to build in the community layer with regards to integrating that feedback and this group as a stakeholder with regards to the development and the design of Commonwealth, because ultimately, long term, this is something that will belong to everybody in the community and the people who own the token and govern the protocol. So it's really important for us to get that culture right. And the culture is quite, I would say, reflective of a flat, what's the word? Management system. Yeah, well, it's not, the hierarchy is not flat by definition. So whatever the opposite of hierarchy is what we're doing. It's flatarchy. And it does produce quite a lot of healthy tension across the board, but it is necessary, because if you can't deal with that in a team of 15, how are you going to deal with that in a much larger group of hundreds and thousands of people? So we work a lot on that culture.
So you shared a link with me the other day, Tim, from that speech. A very good interview with Steve Jobs about product development, and I was laughing because I forgot about the quote there. We talked about how there's always a bit of screaming in product teams, and if there's not, there's something wrong. One of my first years in Intel, I remember being in a meeting with 4 senior Intel managers, and they were screaming at each other across the table. I was like, yeah, that was quite unheard of. But apparently, this is all just by the by. This is what happens from time to time, and everyone just the engineers just go at each other. So we were never that bad, I think. But yeah.
There's been, I wouldn't say screaming, but plenty of shouting. I don't know where the difference between a scream and a shout is, but there's been
desperation, maybe the level of desperation or something. I don't know.
And there'll be a bit more before we have the working product online. But yeah, this is the alpha complete, and congratulations to Tony and the team and Ian and Connor and everybody involved, behind the scenes as well. There is a much larger group of people involved, and hopefully you'll get to interact with them a little bit during the beta phase as well.
Yeah, no, I think just on that, Tim, just give me 1 second. I think all kudos to a company called Pragmatic Coders in Poland and Krakow, who've been with us since day one and have kind of workshopped things with myself and Ian from a blank sheet of paper. And obviously it's not the same group of people who were there at the beginning, but they've been phenomenal with us and have worked hand in hand at every stage of the way. So big kudos to them and all the efforts. There's a lot more work that's built than is shown here today. So a lot more to come.
I've never seen so many post-it notes on a single wall.
Yeah. I mean,
so guys,
I'd love to. We should do it behind the scenes. Sorry, we should do it behind the scenes with them kind of view, because I've spoken to several people in that company now, and apparently when we went to them after that first workshop, they came out all full of confidence, but in the background they're all going, Jesus, how do we build this thing? It's so big. And even their CTO was laughing about it. He said, yeah, for weeks they were just like, oh my God, this thing is enormous. So fair play to them for sticking with us and helping us sort it out,
Yeah, just for clarity, I suppose I'd like to stress that it's not a strictly outsourcing agreement here. We sort of view Pragmatic Coders as part of the team, and it's not just sentiment either. Tony is actively, kind of leading that team of devs there. So it's kind of like an in-sourcing arrangement that we have with Pragmatic Coders. They're very much part of the core kind of development team, and we don't see too much separation there. Ian spent months working in their office over there in Krakow, and Tony's there once a month on average to spend time with them. So just to stress that we haven't just given this problem to someone else to solve.
If only I could, Tim. If only I could.
Exactly.
I'd be on the beach with Ian instead of sweating away in Europe with you, Connor.
I was going to say your grey hairs are testament to that, Tony. Anyway,
exactly.
So there is a question I think that a couple of the people have asked in the Telegram group about will they be able to invest on the platform through credit card only?
Yes. Yeah. That's the idea. Yeah, once we get we've got there's a new wave of kind of fiat on ramps that we can start talking to now. So we're going to kickstart those conversations again. But again, if they're able to support ZK Sync at launch, great. If not, it will be crypto only at launch. But we very much, we always build the workflows with 2 different groups in mind: the people who are crypto only and the more casual retail investor. So any features we don't have there at launch, you can be pretty sure will come very quickly afterwards once that support is there in the ecosystem for them. One of the approaches we hope to take, not just from a regulation point of view, but also a go-to-market point of view, is it's very much a decentralized protocol, but we all live in the real world, and how people interact with us in different geographies depends on the regulation in that environment. So apart from the ability to localize our front end for different markets, we potentially can actually localize some parts of the back end. And I think one of the ideas we've had is that we might have different fiat on-ramp providers in different parts of the world. It could be PayPal in one place, Stripe somewhere else, Ramper Network somewhere else, and we need to be able to, the platform needs to be able to adapt to accommodate and serve the users. Does that answer your question, Ian? Is that the...
Yeah, sorry, just had a few people reacting to it, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're going to have the AMA session in a few minutes. So, which is, I think we were quite keen also to share an update, which we thought was important. And it's not quite like the full bottomed out version of where we're going to land with regards to compliance. Of course, it's another part of the development of Commonwealth, which is, an important pillar, but also a work in progress. But we do feel that we are heading into quite a constructive and what we think is somehow relatively innovative as well way to lean into compliance, but also at the same time describe what we are doing in a legal way, essentially, that matches the technology-based nature of the interactions of all of the ecosystem partners. And when I say that, obviously I'm talking about how a DAO in relation to a blockchain ecosystem works, right? And often I think one of the challenges that a lot of people are facing in Web3 is taking what is something quite abnormal and trying to artificially manipulate it to fit the existing legal and regulatory sort of landscape in whichever jurisdictions are relevant. And that is, providing a lot of, workaround solutions and obviously a lot of tension and friction. And we're obviously, we're trying to understand that as best we can, but also we're trying to come up with something which is a bit more accurately describing what it is we are aiming to do with Commonwealth as a fully decentralized and automated technology service. So with that in mind, I mean, Tony, you can give a little bit of a description, I suppose, of the idea or the way we're headed, but just also to be cautionary, I suppose, and put the disclaimer out there that this isn't developed to the extent which it's something that we want to publicly communicate and put into writing. It's really just giving an indication of how we're looking at things at the moment.
Yeah, as Tim mentioned, kind of working with patents and lawyers, it's always, don't write anything down until you absolutely have to at the last minute. So, we've always had a kind of, I think, quite a far-reaching kind of view about regulation and compliance. Building a decentralized protocol is all well and good, but it still has to operate by or be used by human beings in the real world. So, in many ways, decentralization for now remains a narrative and a goal and an aspiration that we all want to progress, of course, along as fast as we can. So we've always had that view in mind, and kind of recently then between developments in the US and EU have kind of cemented that approach, and our own investigations then are kind of leading us along a particular path, which actually Tim has been quite sober and downplaying it, but we're trying not to get too excited about it because we think we've something exciting and innovative, and it's already passed its first few levels of being tested and seems to stand up. So high level, what we're planning on doing, I'll talk you through high level kind of strategy, and then we can talk tactics. So high level, we're basically not touching the US for now, as you know. It's still kind of too uncertain over there. There's also a couple of bills kind of making their way through Congress at the moment that could add quite a lot of clarity to things over there. So for now, we're just going to continue to exclude them and geo-block them for now. We're very much focusing on getting registered in Europe under MiCA as a virtual asset service provider. In Ireland alone, there's already 7 companies who are kind of registered already. As a non-custodial asset provider, the compliance requirements are relatively small. So that's one piece. So we're covered under and then the beauty, of course, is MiCA as well, is that it kind of almost encourages decentralization. Right, the faster we decentralize, the less regulated we need to be, which is fantastic. The other piece we have to be careful of is that we're not like another DeFi protocol in that it is potentially, it's about investments, right? So in every country in the world, there's going to be sensitivities around securities versus commodities, and we have to kind of tread quite carefully. So what we are trying to do, without going into too much detail, is we have a legal structure that's multi-tiered, that's based around cooperatives and collective operation rather than hierarchies and partners. And some of the wording around there is quite important. And that, plus the architecture and the level of decentralization and automation we're looking to put in place, in some people's opinions, kind of makes us kind of pretty safe. We are also wrapping a number of legal agreements to various parts of the platform in a very lightweight way, which actually can provide additional cover then for some of the stakeholders involved in the system. So, for example, in one country, we might all be considered collaborators. In another country, they might consider the arrangement between some of us as to be a partnership, or kind of a different type of relationship. And that in itself can lead to us being captured under certain regulation in certain countries, certain financial regulations. So there's a lot of engineering that has to go into this around looking at the protocol, looking at existing laws around employment and cooperation and partnership, the investment laws, and then the kind of MiCA kind of piece. So we think in the last 2 weeks, we've made kind of a breakthrough on a number of fronts. It's still work in progress. But we're very excited by that and think it opens up lots of possibilities for us. Once we're regulated in the EU, again, we're only kickstarting the search now for which part of the EU where we will register, because again, we're going to try and really suit ourselves and pick the best possible option for now and for the future. That would be the kind of next point at which to kind of finalize some of the structures and put them in place. And I think that's all I can probably really fruitfully say about that for now. The one other piece I'll mention, and we haven't touched upon it in a while, but it came up again in conversations this week, is we are, of course, fully committed to putting insurance in place for these funds as well, which might sound strange, as it did to me initially, given we don't hold the funds. But legally, we have to make sure that between the smart contracts and the platform and everything else, that's squared away. But we also want to try and give as much peace of mind to everyone, including ourselves, as we can. So it's always been our intention to seek insurance for the funds. And we're kicking around, I think, 2 or 3 different options for that this week. So we are going to progress that side of things also. Can't really give you a timeline on it. But I thought one interesting idea Kyle had this week, I might share it out of mischief. He was kind of saying, look, if we have trouble getting, insured for our funds anywhere, then we can always just fund our own insurance fund, through the carry that comes in. And that way, the DAO is using the DAO's assets to protect the DAO and its investors. And I kind of thought that was a nice idea and a nice use of the community protocol myself. But I think that's everything, Tim. I'm not sure if there's much more we can really say, is there?
No, that was great. Thanks, Tony. Again, super high level on the compliance and legal side of things. I suppose the summary there is that we are focusing on EU, as we see that as one of the more progressive places to try to describe and navigate from a legislative perspective what it is we are doing with Commonwealth and how the DAO will operate. With regards to the US, of course, it's been geo-blocked, has been for a long time, or has always been. And like Tony said, we'll have to. It's a little bit hurry up and wait for how things are going to develop on that side. Just giving you the benefit of the insight of that side of things. It's a bit administrative and slightly boring, but obviously it comes up quite a lot in the different discussions that we have with ecosystem partners. So it's a really important component as well, as everyone's aware. Okay, guys, listen, I think we're getting close to the hour. I think it was only scheduled to be 1 hour, but if we need to go over a little bit, that's fine. I do want to see if there's any questions from the audience. I know that we're fielding questions live as well through the public channel. If any of the audience would like to request to speak and have a question for us, or would like to comment on anything they've seen today or heard today, in addition to what's been on the channel, please, jump in or, raise your hand or request to speak, as it is in Telegram, and we'll let you in.
Hello.
Hey, Serena.
Hi.
How are you?
I don't see the raise hand option. I'll come on cam just to say hello. Hi, I'm fine. Thank you so much for the great presentation. Let's see, share video. Gotcha. Hi, good to see you
Hey,
guys. I
Serena.
feel part of the team with my black shirt. So I
Look at
wanted to
that.
add,
Yeah.
someone was asking about can you just invest with direct credit card? Then I was also thinking about when you guys said you invest, you get an NFT receipt. So how is that going to work for the people who are not the crypto, mindset or familiar with all of that type of lingo of an NFT? The people that come to the site to just invest with their credit card, how does that work? What type of receipt type mechanism do they get back, or is it still the NFT approach? Thank you.
It's multi-layered, actually. So first of all, there will be registration required on the platform, which provides giving an email address. So every investment you make, you will receive a receipt by email. In addition, obviously a lot of folks are going to come along and have to be educated to some extent about how crypto works. So we're trying to make that as easy as possible. We're going to try and change the name so people don't think of it as a fund NFT. But as we mentioned in there, that will be visible in your portfolio. Anytime you log into the website, you won't have to fuss around with wallets or anything else. You'll be able to see the representation of your NFT kind of sitting in there, which will have all the transaction data, etc. with it. In addition, what you may not have seen yet is when you come to register for Commonwealth, you may already have a wallet you want to add, or you may not, in which case we can actually automatically create a wallet for you in the background, completely non-custodial. It uses the same technology that Binance Wallet and a few other folks use, but we've made a few little improvements to it. And we're able to get you those private keys and make sure you've backed up those private keys in a way where, we never have access to those keys. So there's always going to be a certain amount of kind of hand holding around this for folks. We can't hide all the elements of blockchain. For example, when they get their money back, the USDC that comes back from their investment, that has to get drawn down into their wallet somewhere. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible by handling all of that stuff up front for them, giving them their familiar tools like email and things like that, having a familiar Web 2 type interface where they can see their fund NFTs, regardless of whether it's anything is staked or not. They can literally see it in there as they would expect to, and that feeling of familiarity they'd expect. And then hopefully by the time we actually get to disperse funds back to people, there's some easier way to off-ramp from crypto, and we will keep an eye out for those kinds of opportunities. And it's exactly these kinds of issues that we're excited about ZK Sync. Account abstraction and ZK Sync alone allows us move away from a lot of those problems in a much more seamless way. And I would like to mention one of the reasons, the main reason in my mind that I was in favor of ZK Sync, it's the only L1 I've ever heard of that touts usability as one of its core features, that actually usability for end users is one of its core features, which I think is a phenomenal statement of intent and very much aligns with our own mission, Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome, actually, and seeing Serena has reminded me as well about one other, it's a mini update. So thank you for everybody who's been participating in the moderation support on the channel. Seems to be going quite well so far. I've got a bad echo here. Ian, can you go on mute? It seems to be going quite well on that side of things, and we so far in the team anyway have really appreciated the nature of the support and the engagement. We obviously recognize that not everything can be taken care of, let's say in a decentralized manner with the moderation, but to a large extent, most of it seems to be able to be handled. But we are providing also some additional resources to support with that as well. So look out for a link that'll come next week, which will help anybody who's active in community moderation just navigate that side of things. But yeah, brilliant work so far. Big shout out to the community who's been active there. Thanks a lot. And I think it really has shown that All Street is a place that kind of manages itself to a large extent, and that culture I was talking about before is starting to really sort of form itself and mature in a nice way. So this kind of add-on, it is a little bit kind of a test to see how decentralization can work, and also rewards, I suppose. But it's been encouraging so far, and I think it really shows that the core community in the Commonwealth group is really well informed and understands the nuances behind the protocol and the platform, and is committed as well to really spreading the word. So yeah, feel free to continue in the same vein, and if you have any questions about that as well, feel free now. But yeah, I did say there'll be a link coming next week which should be able to help those who are active in the moderation on the channel. So yeah, look out for that.
Well, that's an important one for us to debate in the future, I think, as well, as that culture of getting everyone involved and trying to devolve responsibility and work to everyone involved, because it's not just lip service, right? We put a lot of time and energy into integrating our community because we want to increase participation of DAOs. DAOs are an experiment, and like none of them can be counted as a success just yet. But we also know that just like voting, the turnout for votes is incredibly small in the community, and that has implications for the security of the protocol as much as anything else. But in addition, it actually has an impact from a regulation point of view, right? The whole point of a DAO is everybody is working for everyone else. So it's not just a rallying cry. It's not just convenience. We have to try and make this work for all of us. Otherwise, we are at risk in some territories of some activities by some people in the DAO be considered against the law. So do you see what I mean? It's kind of this is a cultural thing. It's an architectural thing. It's a naming thing. It's a legal thing. All these pieces, we have to bring them all together. And the culture of Commonwealth, I think that's going to be that glue that holds them together, I would hope.
Yeah, and we have talked previously as well about other rewards and incentives and gamification methods with regards to the decentralization of support and services and interaction and ownership ultimately of Commonwealth. A lot of that will be obviously taken care of through the app, and it's a little bit the question is, I suppose, on our minds and continues to be on our minds, the extent to which we can front load or fast track some of those components so that they're relevant now as well. Obviously the moderation piece is an easy lift, but anything else that takes advantage of the features of the application, which we're very close to, by the way, it just requires a little bit more engineering on our side. So yeah, we're just conscious of that. But anybody feel free to on your own initiative, of course, spread the word of All Street. Everything that we do in the group, kind of echoes across, the future of Commonwealth, and puts everybody involved with Commonwealth in a stronger position going forward, whether it's to do with the TG and the app launch, or even beyond that in terms of how this thing scales longer term to the broader public outside of Web3. So these are all exciting pieces, and we want everybody here to be a huge part of that.
100%.
Cool. Is there any more questions? I don't know if anybody's putting up their hand at the moment. I don't see anybody or requesting to speak. If you want to, you can just unmute yourself like Serena did, if you have that facility. Otherwise, it's now 5 past the hour. We've been on for exactly an hour now, given that we started 5 minutes late. So if there's nothing else, I think we'll wrap this up today, and we will be in touch, obviously, with much more announcements as promised in relation to the beta testing, in relation to the influencers who have come on board alongside Commonwealth, other business development announcements and progress. And yeah, thanks very much for everybody's engagement today, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Adios.
Thanks.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Yeah, enjoy the weekend, everyone. Bye.